Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this interesting conversation of managing reputation in an age where information and unfortunately misinformation travels at the speed of light. As we all know, reputation, and it is said, isn't built overnight. It can be questioned in mere seconds, and in the digital age, the reputation of a brand is as fragile as it is valuable because, as it is said, it takes years to build, seconds to question, and sometimes lifetime to repair. And at the moment of crisis, and as someone I'm from the field of finance, reputation becomes a silent asset on every balance sheet, and value suddenly feeling loud in the time of crisis. Our focus today is on how brands and professionals can navigate this complex environment. In a world full of noise, it's authenticity, transparency, and rapid response that can cut through and build a lasting relationship. So it's no longer enough to control the narrative. We need to be ensured and prepared to engage, clarify, and earn the trust. Each of the panelists today that you see represent a unique sector, from consumer goods to healthcare to finance, industry. They are the frontline defenders of their brand's reputation. They combat misinformation, foster resilience, and of course, ensure that consumer trust is there. So they know that misinformation doesn't need a reason, it just needs a platform. And our job as a communicator is to ensure that truth speaks louder and clearer. So without further ado, I would request the members to then start into certain questions that we have got for you and we have created for you. So the first in that is my question to them on what is their strategy where misinformation can spread rapidly. How does their respective organization prioritize and approach reputation management? And if they can share some insights on these strategies. So I'll start with Saheli. Saheli, can we have opening remarks on this, please?
Sure, Dr. Kapoor, and thank you so much for asking that question because it is a very difficult space today with the proliferation of digital. And of course, misinformation comes in varied sizes and shapes. And there is no one size fits all to any of the misinformation spread. However, for an organization like ITC, and I am extremely proud to also share that the organization believes in cross-learning, in opportunities that we learn across our own businesses, because every misinformation spread has a certain tonality. So every business in our organization has developed a very strategic, proactive, and reactive mechanism where monitoring and tracking mechanism is the first key. With monitoring through tools, now there is this rise of the de-influencer trend. There is the rise of social media virtual rumors, which are very, very critical for a sector like personal care or FMCG as such, where people have started believing in a very decentralized piece where peer recommendation or peer thoughts come in. So that is one very critical approach where there are laid down specific standard operating procedures and a quick response task force that gets built, which actually is a cross-functional team, including legal, product development, the scientific aspect of it, and communication and brand teams. So I think there are a variety of ways to look at it, but with the top priority being that for any kind of misinformation, it is actually only information delivered in an authentic and transparent way that can help us build the trust back.
Absolutely. So thank you for that, and thank you for putting in the personal care space as well into this. Madhurima, can I bring in you next? And this is the same question to you as well, and specifically with your sector, that will help.
Okay, hi. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So I work with Ipsos, which is a global market research company. So while Ipsos is not registered on the Indian Stock Exchange, it is registered on the Paris Stock Exchange. So, across our 90 markets, we have to be very careful about what we give out to media. And, like, for instance, if I do some work with media, it runs through my CEO's, lens and it goes out. similarly, when we put out information on social media, or if we have our own handles and our employees have their handles, we have very, very specific directive for them to abstain from anything controversial or to show any bias towards anybody. And we are supposed to be very neutral in our approach of what we give out, because it can really affect our stocks, in Paris. And we don't want to cause any sort of embarrassment to a behemoth like Ipsos, which is a global company. And we also, like Saheli was mentioning, she's with FMCG ITC. So lots of clients come to us and tell us, ask us to monitor what kind of social media engagement is going on for their brands. So we have a tool called Synthesio, where we monitor positive and negative coverage, and we give and tell them to take those steps before anything brims out of control. So to put it in a nutshell, we are very, very controlled in what we give out. And for our data also, we are governed by the SOMAR rules, which is the European Society for Market Research, and the Indian, Market Research Society. So we are very careful with what we give out. Also, when we give out our data, we mention what methodology we adopted, to get to those, because there is data privacy, there's so much, and we don't want to cause any sort of embarrassment. So we have very, very controlled way of functioning, that is.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Madhurima. A controlled way of functioning and making sure that the data follows the protocol set in by the society. Sanaj, can I bring you next? Same question. And what is it that you are doing specifically in the sector that you operate in?
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Samir. We are WAPTEC, short for Westinghouse Air Brake Systems. It's a 165-year-old organization listed in the US. And in India, you'll be surprised to know we came into prominence only in 2019 when it acquired GE Transportation as a business globally and in India. So over the years, we are B2G organization. So B2G is business to government. So since you're dealing in IPOs and everything, so for us, reputation is across stakeholder groups specific to the government, and that is the biggest stakeholders for us, Indian Railways, and because we are also partnering with them, so we deal with information as well as misinformation in a partnership manner. Okay, be it say any rumors or any complexity in a project, we deal with them primarily directly. Most of it is never fought in the media limelight, so to say, but we have those conversations with them and try to sort it out. So, and similarly, what we do is to manage certain, we have a plant in Bihar, for example, where we make locomotives. And Bihar is also a little sensitive when it comes to political sentiments and everything. So what we have over the years done is we have strengthened our relationships there. And that has helped in quelling any rumors or outright one-sided political unrest, if it is there, or any of these sorts when it comes around election cycles or any of these cycles where railway and infrastructure is pretty much in focus, unlike in the B2C sector or in the insurance sector. It becomes a little touchy because it's also this is a place where employment and generation of employment is very important. So and Waptec has positioned itself as an employer of choice. So given that we are, like what Madhurima is pointing to, we are ensuring that we articulate what we say and we present only, we talk in facts, not any, we don't address rumors and we don't try to sing. So the approach has always been be direct and be clear in that.
Right. Thank you. So be direct, be clear. Paul, can I get you in? Can't be as direct as the space that you are operating in.
Thank you, Dr. Kapoor. When I talk about misinformation, it reminds me all nearly a decade I was working as a journalist, and there we were busting fake news. And when I came to the corporate side as well, realized how important misinformation is for any brand. And in fact, I work for Bajaj Finance, and for us as well, we are a listed entity, and we operate like in a highly regulated industry. So every piece of misinformation is very important to us. Any kind of reputation impact is really important for the brand. So what we do as a brand is we fact check. That's the first step that we do. We check whether internally we check whether something is correct, something is wrong, and then we identify the source of the information. Where does it come from? Is it credible, not credible? How much of effort needs to go into looking into something that's not credible? And then gone are the days where during the print days where you had a turnaround time where you could take your own sweet time to get back to the media. Now it's social media, as you know, the turnaround time is very less. So all the more important why you have a dedicated team looking into it, and that's what we do at Bajaj. It is important, very important, like I said, Dr. Samir, that we go to the root of the misinformation. And again, gone are the days where any kind of publicity is good publicity or bad publicity. Today, we are all as communicators, especially looking into crisis. Our goal is to stay away from any kind of negative publicity.
Right. Thank you for that. So thank you. That actually finishes the first round of our set of questions that are there. I will then now ask individual panelists to come in for certain set of questions that I've created for your sector. But before that, there is one more sector that I want to talk about, something that Paul picked up. And how has the role of digital and social media influenced your approach to handling misinformation? And are there platforms that you specifically find challenging or effective? And this time we'll start reverse. And since Paul, you finished last, we'll go with you first.
Yeah. Social media is the biggest challenge. I'm sure for all of us is the same because social media is not regulated, and any person can pick up a mic, record a video, and put out information. So fighting misinformation on social media is the biggest challenge. And how much of effort should we put in as a brand, as a team that manages reputation for a brand? It's very important to decide, are you going to react to every news that comes on any platform, or do you have a benchmark of these many followers? Is that your benchmark? Is it because even an account with very minimal followers can have a drastic impact on the reputation of a brand? So these are things that internally every company will have to look into. Talking about my company, there are various standards that we have adopted. The goal is to always keep the damage less, and irrespective of the medium, that is print, TV, or social media, we have dedicated teams to look into what kind of impact it can have. And on a case to case basis, we fight it out.
Manoj, can I get you in? Same question. What's the
Yeah,
role of digital
pretty
and social
similar
media?
in approach like how Paul was suggesting. We also deal with it on a case-to-case basis and everything because there are multiple levers that needs to be pulled in. Okay, so also when it comes to government, it's highly regulated, right? And how you deal with them and everything. Sometimes some statements might not work out and everything, so you need to have that direct connect. So most of our leadership, for example, has a direct connect with say the railway board or even at the ministry level, and that has worked out for us. And we are a very lean organization for a large entity, but given that uh, when we deal with misinformation, for example, I partner a lot with the legal guys. So that helps in, nipping it in the bud, and trying to have a best approach on it and everything. Or say, for example, what Madhurima was highlighting, the India region leader is always in the loop on what is happening or pressing. And it's not just misinformation from when it comes to social. There is also a lot of, pay to play kind of a thing which comes in, right? It is sometimes certain aspirational publications also come in, and everything, and they also try to reach you out, and it's more like a clickbait kind of a thing, wherein they try to reel in you in by saying. So that is also a way of looking at a misinformation, whether will this add credibility to my organization, or it's just, I paid for it and I got this kind of a thing. So we are also careful on that part as well. So that's my piece.
Thank you. Madhurima,
Yeah.
pull you in.
So,
Yes.
as a global company, we have subscribed to Session. So what happens is that all the positive and negative coverage and the sentiment, it all reflects, it just comes up. And that's monitored at the global level. At the micro level, we do two things. One, whatever agreements we do, we get into with companies, they want to do co-branded surveys, we take the legal route. We get the contract made, and our legal team goes through it. And we also tell them how the information should be, used when it comes out, that is. And, in a very responsible way, we function. And second, everything is very, very controlled. Whatever we give out, we go through, we take our time to write, but then we are very, very careful. The CEO reads it, and then he says, I think I don't like this sentence, you should change it. So we're very controlled. But on LinkedIn, many times what happens is they say, oh, your happiness survey says this, but the global happiness survey says India is at the bottom of the heap. Then I tell them that you look at the parameters used, and then you see, because what we have used and what they have used, it's completely different. They are looking at the social security. My survey is not covering social security. So all that clarification I make it a point to do, because then that it just then dies out in a good way. It just settles. Because if you just ignore it, then people will point a finger at you and doubt the credibility of your survey. So it's my constant endeavor to always clarify and give them the information and how it should be read. So I think that helps us a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
So given the context and
Yes,
the
context.
situation
Absolutely.
and which things were,
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Shaili,
Yes.
in this round, you've come in. Last question remains the same.
Yeah, I think very interestingly pointed out by the panelists here. I will just address it a little differently because mine is a business to consumer kind of a space with ITC in it. And here, of course, misinformation is related to viral rumors on social. It is related to, fake news, fake reviews online that can mislead consumers in very many ways. So the approach, and it is always unsettling. Of course, the hardest platform, I still think that social media is comparatively slightly easier when it comes to the open platforms, because at least if your brand is mentioned, you can discover it. Because I think the discovery of the spread of misinformation is one of the toughest tasks for us who are monitoring on a continuous basis. And the most challenging platform to do that is WhatsApp. Being closed in its nature, a WhatsApp video talking negative about a brand goes out and you come to know after a certain point in time. So, this entire aspect of timely discovery of misinformation spread that is happening is one critical challenge that comms professionals face, irrespective of the amount of tracking and monitoring that is happening. And then the second piece that comes in is on communicating back or correcting the misinformation, which is authentic information, but how do you put it out? What do you say? how do you say it, and whether the brand's actions are, skewed towards what you are actually saying. Because today, consumer trust actually is on actions rather than what brand promises. So our approach is very proactive, continuous monitoring and engaging. And I think it is about longer term investment in building relationships, building brand credibility across various aspects of a brand communication touch point. So I think that's our approach.
Great. That is good. Thank you. Brings me to another question, and Sally, I'll start with you in this round, which
Sure.
talks about various stakeholders, and given you are in the B2C space, consumers are more skeptical than ever. While you did mention about your entire aspect of how you're using and handling misinformation and your processes, but how do you measure the impact of your strategies to counter misinformation? And if there are any metrics or tools that are particularly helpful?
See, for media, it is fairly straightforward because it is about SOV and curtailing the SOV and looking at the positive and the negative piece. From a consumer conversation point of view, I think we look at sentiment and sentiment analysis very critically, where the mentions, the kind of conversations, and if we've been able to convert the negative sentiment to a certain aspect to make it more positive. So that's a space that we really explore, where sentiment mapping, tracking of conversations, as well as this entire aspect of SOV. So these are three specific tools that we look at from a social and a traditional point of view.
My question is, with stakeholders and consumers being more skeptical than ever,
Yes.
how do you measure the impact of your strategies to counter misinformation? And in case there are any metrics or tools that you're using in your organization? Daily
So,
mentioned about us,
yes.
so we are keen to understand about yours.
Yes. So, I don't know, knock on wood, but we've been a tad lucky. We don't any kind of misinformation. We don't encounter any negative coverage per se or anything, thing which a red flag or something. But at the same time, what we regularly monitor is, first of all, how has been our media, those media picks, how have been our media picks, so how many stories, etc. And then we look at share of voice with our competition, and that decision throws up for us. So we get this whole report, and if there are, God forbid, any red flags, then they're mostly global survey that we do with Reuters, or some other survey or some other news which global handles at their end. But for us, we mentioned we cover mostly our share of voice, and we look at what have been the how many what has been the media pick, how many stories we got out, and of course partnerships mean a lot to us. So we get into these strategic partnerships where, being a B2B brand, we get to showcase our thought leadership. And there also it's very rigorous process. And also when we hire our service line leaders, which are our leaders, they come with a lot of industry and experience, etc. So that, because they have to advise clients as to what actions they should take to stay ahead of the curve in the market. So they have to be the best of breed. So I think for us, quality matters a lot, and thought leadership to get our people out to talk about it. And so these are the different metrics we use to build our reputation. And and if there are any red flags, then we tackle them one-on-one, and then this is what we
Understood.
do.
Sanaj, can I get you in for the same question? You want me to repeat it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, as I said, with the consumer and in your case, even government becoming more and more skeptical than ever, how do you measure the impact of any misinformation, the space that you are in, like you mentioned in B2G, a motivated competition may have certain inroads, and therefore they would like to spread that. And this is because it's very closed, the chances of believing that becomes even more higher. So are there any metrics or tools that you've deployed specifically or anything that you want to discuss with the audience.
Okay. So let me put it, say I was on an HR call just yesterday, a leadership call and everything. One of the things what we are as an organization over the period of time have become is we are one of the world's most leading and innovative rail technology companies. And we are in terms of not just the valuation, but in terms of the credibility that we offer. And when it comes to slightly closed knit, organizations, you know your peers, know your competition, everybody else in the room. What offers or what comes across as credibility is how your customer treats you or how you are treated by your customer. So one of the things which was announced recently, we worked with Indian Railways and they announced the largest export order uh, uh, out of Indian railway systems, and that was Vaptec, which it was a success as a Make in India thing. That was much more of a bigger credibility for us than anything else. So we only supported and gave the information that is required, and also we told them that, hey, you can go out with the press releases, you can go out with the information, but we are not uh, able to provide you with the numbers on it and everything. Okay, but they accepted it, so that's a win-win situation for us as well. That a government doesn't need to listen to us as a private player, but they also feel that there is a reason for it and everything, and they appreciate the partnership and the being forthright in our way, and that built, it didn't affect anything in our plant, it didn't affect our employees. Uh, just to coming circling back on the HR leadership call, we have the we have retained we have a GCC in India, and our retention rate is at 6%. That the average in the IT sector is around 11 and 12, and we are able to retain people and so the way we are holding people and how we are internalizing and we are engaging positively has helped us. And as an organization, even like I am 5 years old in this organization, and what we feel is the way people treat each other, that is adding credibility and it helps. And we have a lot of things that helps. It's the share of voice that travels within employees to clients to customers. So you spread the positivity. There are many people who would have even gone to competition, have come back within 3 to 4 hours. I'm not just focusing on the media piece and everything, but this is and one of our values is also around people. So we hold our people so well uh, that it has its own domino effect, and that also affects our clients, that also affects a lot of other people.
Right.
Samir?
Nalima, you have your hand up. You want to add something on that?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I just wanted to say for me, the only struggle is with media trying to convince them that our sample size is very robust for India. They say for this billion population, your sample size, we have told them so many times that, it's scientifically taken and then we extrapolate it to the universe. But that is the struggle, not just in my market, but in across the world. Our markets struggle, and that is where we struggle, only place we struggle.
I think
Yeah.
the route at which cephologists are struggling, that has something to do with the prediction getting wrong at both state as well as the national level. Paul, do you want to come in next?
Yeah, I'll just couple of points here. One is SEBI's recent network, the new network that they had put out the guidelines, it had said that it requires companies to confirm or deny rumors if there's a cause of 3% or more in the share price. So this makes it all the more important as a finance company for us, misinformation, because we have to inform the exchanges whether something is a rumor or we have to either confirm it. So all the more reason why we need to look into it. And about tools or metrics, how you manage a crisis, there are no metrics. That's also a pro as well as a bane. But you can use tools to discover the source of a crisis. So various tools, social media tools, listening tools, like Sahili was pointing out. So tools can come in there, but how well you can manage a crisis, there's not even a turnaround time that you can compare crisis to crisis. It's so unique. For example, a crisis that happens in the north is very different from a crisis that happens in south. I handle the south, so the turnaround time, how the media reacts to it, the same story in north may have become a story, but in south people don't even look at it. So how they react to it, and what exactly, how can you convince the media, how do you reach out to them, various factors that come into play when you talk about it. Like I said, tools, you can, but metrics, no, there is no metric in finding out how well you've handled a crisis. It's only about ensuring you cause as minimal damage as you can.
Right. So, Saili, let me just come back to you. The fact that you are in the highly consumer-centric space, which is now very, very vulnerable to rumors, misinformation, concerns by by the consumers on product safety, ingredients that have been put in. You've seen one influencer causing a huge amount of damage to some of the large brands. Uh, how does ITC manage all this? And as someone who's proactively taking this role, what is it that you are doing in shaping the consumer trust in a very, very cynical environment?
Yeah, it's a tough space. It is tough because every day there is a new thing that comes up. Every day there is a new way of communicating. And also this entire aspect of David versus Goliath as a play out that is happening with consumers. So yes, it is a very risky space. Hence, it brings us back to the core point of what is it that we want to take up as a battle and how do we assess the damage. So it is about risk assessment at the core. It is about assessing who the individual is, like Paul was mentioning. The source is very critical for us to understand where it is coming from and whether it is malified interest or it is actually miscommunication or misinterpretation of an element. Because this entire trend of de-influence, what we have also realized, also comes in from a point of view of, very limited knowledge on a particular ingredient or a product, and that getting profiled at a large scale on social media, where because consumers have started believing more on this decentralized peer recommendation aspect. I think our way of engaging with it is what I said in my first go, which is pure information. So authentic information on a continuous basis. ITC has very stringent regulations when it comes to its quality standards, when it comes to what kind of communication goes out. So legal standards are also very high, and that brings me to an aspect of this the entire aspect of assessing the sentiment, how are consumers taking it, and what is the positive look on it that I can bring in from a brand, from an action point of view, whether it is positive influence, whether it is showcase and being transparent and authentic in showcasing what the brand actually is doing, whether it is from a value proposition point of view, whether it is from a product claim point of view, or actually showcasing the quality standards that we engage with. So I think that is the only way. The other aspect is, I mean, while when do you react, how much do you react, and how quickly can you respond back. However, in that respond back, you also need to tread a very fine line so that it doesn't get misinterpreted. So it is a cross-functional team from a response action task force that we put together, when anything of this sort is happening, which is at the moment, while there is an entire proactive brand building aspect that goes on, which includes the social responsibility piece, which includes product efficacy and product creation and quality piece, which is a continuous aspect. So I think that is how we look at elements. But monitoring, tracking, again, be it our own command center, be it the ORM teams, various tools that we deploy. But tracking this conversation is very, very critical for us to discover it at the right time and then communicating back with the right strategy, which needs very careful dissection at our end because it's a consumer-led conversation.
Right, right. Thanks for that, Shailee. Madhurima, you are given that the data-driven nature of Ipsos. What challenge when addressing is, let's say, skepticism? You did allude to that point in your previous statement, though, or misinformation about survey findings. And it might happen that your survey might be music to the ears of the opposition party or to certain segment of the society, that they want to take your survey and then take a massive attack on anyone. Now, how do you manage that aspect in case you, without taking names, if you can just tell us what was the thing done that you've done?
Okay, so first of all, I want to add to what Saheli said. Ipsos has this reputation pyramid where trust sits at the top of the pyramid, that if they don't trust the quality of the ingredients of the products, no matter what advertising you throw at them, they will not buy the products. I'm giving her a little tip, which our global surveys have shown from the work that we do with leading FMCG companies, that is consumer packaged goods industries as well. Okay, so coming to my brand, the thing is that, actually, we do a survey called What Worries the World. It's a very interesting survey because it tells you which are the big issues which Indians believe the country is facing. And I've seen that, the Congress party is always showing the inflation and unemployment, that two big macro issues that come up every month on our survey. And they're flogging the government and saying, these are the issues you have done nothing about. So, what we do when we put out our findings, we give a very, very holistic approach of how, because it shows unemployment worries have also come down in some months, or if they've gone like this month, this was a double-digit worry increase, both for unemployment and inflation. But then we say that it's the macro factors, global slowdown. And, there's been a massive global slowdown because of the wars, etc. And India is not isolated from the rest of the world. And, when the job cuts happen, then they happen also in our market. So, we give a very holistic approach to the findings, and we do not present, in saying that the government has not done its job, because government has done its job, but sometimes there are forces which are beyond, which every market is facing. And then we show them that how India is still among the top 3 optimistic markets. So, whatever we put out, like I said, we put it very rationally out, so that, as specialists in the field, and from all the global work that we do around macro issues, around society, markets, and people, that is what most of the work that we do it is always our endeavor to provide a very, very complete picture, and say that what are the good things, and if there are things, why they are affected. Like, once the sentiment was down because of the floods that happened recently, we had a very bad situation. So we highlight that, these are the things, and the lower strata has been impacted more than the big city people. So these are the things we do to highlight, what is affecting what, and why the sentiment is down. So we play, like I said, we do a very rational kind of approach of presenting whatever we put out to media or whatever we put out. People, you can use the information they want, but then we also say why things are happening, and what if they're like post-budget, we saw the sentiment jump up because the government had announced so many schemes for generating employment, training,
and for this job related training with courses, professional courses, etc. So then we say that when the things what impact they have on people, so we present the right picture, so that we have credibility in the marketplace as a global company which is registered on the Paris Stock Exchange. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. And
Yeah.
Anuj, coming to you, while you did allude that this media may not be the only space that you are kind of keen on, and you look at internal stakeholders as well. And the fact that WebTech operates in the industrial and transportation sector, where misinformation can affect both corporations as well as the public safety, and the stakeholders, while it is B2G, but it varies from various bodies to states and others. How do you ensure clear, consistent communication amongst all the regions and amongst all the stakeholders?
So we generally all the communications teams across the world, primarily even in the US, we share information and we share updates uh, across the world. And we also share best practices and uh, uh, also how we dealt with crisis. Okay, because there are certain segments where you have a unionized workforce, right? And when you have that, then there is issues like how some of the panelists mentioned about politicizing certain aspects of it and everything. Very interesting elections also happened. So these are all subjects that subjects and talking points that happen and everything. So uh, how does an organization deal with it is primarily through negotiations, and where we negotiate it's and it's not just the mandate which is to be borne by the communications team. It is more of a shared mandate where we work together with, say, when it comes to unions, we have to talk along with the not just the HR folks, but also the union representatives. You have to talk along with the legal guys. You have to talk along with the the state. A set of rules and guidelines. So there are many things that you have to navigate through and then put your point across. And that's a learning for us. And it also moves, right? So what works in the US would not work in Europe. What works in Europe would not work in India. That is there. But what we have been doing is keep our channels open, and we also focus on the profitability and the well-being of the employee. If we and we have basically zero tolerance for any when it comes to rumors or any behavioral aspects where they are caught uh, you know have projecting some things which can be looked upon as misinformation, and trying to guide a different narrative of the organization. So we always keep the channels open, and we continue the talk even if it is peaceful, even if there's no problem at all. What we continue to do is we ensure that the engagement doesn't drop, and this
Right.
helps especially with customers also, because what happens is, say, like I had a feedback from one of the customers who is also a friend uh, uh, in our apartment complex. Is it you guys, we always fight with you guys. I said, At least we are fighting, right? uh, uh, if you go to a counterpart vendor partner, they would say, this is it, you take, either take it or leave it. So what do you prefer? So, so it's a happy marriage, is what I mentioned to them. So that's a good way of looking at things.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Anuj, coming to you in the service sector industry that you are in, specifically financial ones, misinformation or rumors about any product or any litigations or any circular that can come from RBI or any other body can, of course, erode consumer trust. We saw many years back a large bank and a small rumor was actually at the verge of ensuring that the bank had a great run at its ATM centers. So, how do you in Bajaj FinServ use to ensure these accurate information that reaches out to the customers and, of course, to the media? And how do you combat this misinformation? And how do you handle these consumer queries or concerns which may arise due to misinformation in the financial?
Yeah. So, Dr. Samir, first point, good practices are always discussed, like Sanuj was saying, and it is shared. So, like I said, there are a lot of good practices that are followed. We also learn from other industries how people are doing, and then we pick it up and we absorb it. Bajaj is a 100-year-old legacy brand. Also means the trust factor is very high among the people. So, it's very important to keep up that trust factor. When it comes to queries or any kind of misinformation, I think one thing they've done is brilliantly done is they have a Bajaj FinServ app which has various verticals all embedded into one app, making it a super app. So if there's any kind of doubt, any kind of inquiry that people have, because there are a lot of people fake calling as Bajaj. So when that happens, people want to know, does the scheme really exist? So who do they go to? They can't pick up a phone always and call up a customer care. So it's all available on the app. People can check what are the various verticals that are there in Bajaj FinServ. What are the products that are available? Also, the consumer can directly reach out to the customer care through the app. So I think that app point of view is very helpful for the customer. And that has brought down a lot of queries that otherwise would flow onto the teams that are involved. We have various standard protocols that have been laid down. Apart from that, which is the social media team, the listening team, the team that looks into any kind of escalations on social media, and then we have a dedicated team to engage with customers who have reached out on social media. So these are all very similar to what other companies have. But here in Bajaj, we also have various regulatory guided awareness campaigns that are carried out. Because, like I said, a lot of people fake calling us Bajaj. How do you, I mean, you not only arrest reputation risk, but you have also tell people, the people who just call you are not from Bajaj. Even you very often, I get a lot of people saying, we get a lot of calls from Bajaj, do something about it. But the same people, the first place that they would probably go to for a loan on consumer durables, anything is Bajaj. So that trust factor is still there among the people. They know it is very easy to get a loan from Bajaj. So living up to that expectation of the people and keeping their issues down helps. Various things that are being done, including that super app. I think too many permutation combinations that need to be filled in terms of customer what you were asking about. I think somewhere down there, with all these permutation and combinations, we're keeping the game going.
Right. Fantastic. All right. So we are in the last 10 minutes of our session, and we have seen a lot of long answers and brilliant answers, and the panelists have dwelled on their strategies. How do they handle misinformation? So the last 10 minutes is Coffee with Kapoor, nothing to do with Coffee with Karan. As you can see, it's my original. And therefore, how do we look at one word and certain answers that we look at? It's more of a rapid fire. Try to give your answers in as small words and as small sentence as possible. So since I have started or ended with you, Paul, I will start with you on this. One word to describe the biggest challenge of handling misinformation in your sector.
Social media.
Social media. Tanaj?
Rumors.
Rumors. Madhurima?
Social media, definitely. LinkedIn, especially.
Social media. LinkedIn especially. Okay. Saili?
It's WhatsApp.
It's WhatsApp. So social media still remains, but yeah, the platform changes. Sanjay, of course, has gone ahead more about rumors rather than anything else. Going to the second question, and I'll now start with.
Right?
Rumor absolutely travel, and they don't need
They
any
usually
other
travel on
forms to
social.
travel.
So.
Correct. A go-to tool or strategy your team relies on real-time reputation management. I'll start with Madhurima now.
LinkedIn is our biggest, and Twitter would be
Biggest.
way below. But I think I'll say
Below.
80% of our work is on LinkedIn because
LinkedIn
we are a
is
B2B
80%.
brand.
Right,
B2B
right.
brand.
Yeah. So it also depends on the sector.
Yeah.
Correct.
And just to tell you
Correct.
one thing which you said
Yeah.
in previously, one small thing. We are
G.
very strong psephologists in the UK, US, and Canada. In India,
Right.
we are not into election polling.
Right.
So that clarifies our position.
I think that opens up your market as well in India. Shaili, can I pull you in for this question?
Yes. So for us, I think the single largest piece is social listening and social listening tools that we look at.
Social listening, right. Paul?
I think for us as well, it's social listening because a lot of our complaints come on social media. So
Right.
social
Right. Anuj?
For us, it's LinkedIn and to a large extent YouTube and Facebook.
Right, right. Okay, Sanaj, I'll start with you. The third question, which is, what's the most surprising insight you've gained about consumer trust in recent years? Something that surprised you as well as a practitioner.
Well, yeah, to be articulate as in one word, right? So,
No,
sorry.
take your time. You can articulate in a sentence as
right. So it is. I would say, to a large extent, it's a resistance to change. Uh, is despite being social and everything, the resistance to change is not. I'm talking about at an individual levels. Individual levels, people are adapting very fast, but when it comes to organization levels and bemoths, there is still I won't say pockets, but there are swathes of resistance across across sectors, I would say, and that's something that needs to change, or I would say it has to be on an evolutionary path. I'm not sure. That's a topic for different one.
Understood. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe we'll ask Adgully to have a different evolutionary path of how consumer trust has moved over the period. Paul, can I pull you in?
Yeah, I think it is the fleeting nature of people that has surprised me because if Zomato gives you 10 rupees off on a food, I'll choose Zomato over Swiggy. Same thing with Uber or Ola. So anyone who gives me the best price, I'll go with that. But when it comes to money, people choose a brand, even if it's 1% lesser interest, they will choose a brand that they have a trust in.
Yeah,
right.
there that he answered it better than how I did. So thanks
that's perfectly fine. Staley, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would keep it very crisp, but I have 2 points here. But one is definitely this entire, because consumers are more discerning and informed today. But there is this, it's intuitive today, but the growing importance of brand behavior versus brand promise is, I think, one aspect there. And the second part is the growing skepticism to traditional media or anything that a brand puts forth when it comes to advertising or any kind of social content. And the trust actually has moved to this descent where they tend to believe more. I think these are two a little surprising trends to me.
Madhurima, you deal with a lot of data on consumers.
I work with a B2B brand, but I feel from the consumer standpoint, I think they're highly promiscuous when it comes to brand choices. And they're not really, if anything, like I use a lot, I've seen people, on Q-commerce, they just buy any random product, or even on D2C, if you see the proliferation of D2C, so they will pick up any product that immediately, takes care of their needs, or if it's a new product they really like, or it stands for certain brand qualities. So I think they won't even have any reputation. They will just randomly pick up those brands. So we live in a very not so constrained environment. Now everything sells, Indian market is booming that way. So reputations don't really come into play so much these days when people just buy. products many times over. Yeah. As long as it meets their, need, that is. I have myself as a consumer just picked up some random product on Blinkit just because I picked up this. I give this example. This dupatta of on Zepto, the tricolor dupatta. Now just for $300, but such great quality. So you can imagine, I can just pick up any random product as long as it works for me. I couldn't care less whether it's a MAC cosmetic or it is, L'Oreal, as long as it meets my needs and it is, so I'll pick up any. I'm not brand loyal anymore.
Yeah, I know it's very tough for us.
It's music to the FMCG companies, though, but yeah, and it
Yes.
also means competition opens up. I'll start with you, Madhurima, now on the next question.
okay.
A trend in PR or communication that you think will shape the future of reputation management? One trend
I
in
think
PR or communication.
how you leverage AI, in terms of
The
I've
use of
seen
AI.
people, yeah, because I just saw these people who couldn't write English for nuts, and suddenly I say, hey, you're writing very good English. She said, hey, this is all AI. I just put the random stuff, just saying that I want all this to be written in a better way. And suddenly they're writing like as good as me or maybe better. And then I realized it's AI and not them. And they would always come to me and say, Madhurima, can you better it for us? And suddenly we have so people, I think AI has to be leveraged. We all have to be skilled how to use it in PR, whether it is to, to bring out the best copies or whether it is to, see how we, use it as an assistant in, getting your visuals also, for instance, the best visuals for putting out in your press releases. You want to send some visuals or on your websites. It can really help you in creative work, that is.
So AI is one. Saili, what will your one thing will be?
Yeah, mine is also AI as a trend, but it's a
AI.
different perspective here where, AI and the more it starts learning, it is about utilizing AI for monitoring and assessing public sentiment, as well as getting, worldwide point of views of a certain emerging crisis, because it is very quick at that research. So I think AI definitely is going to shape future of reputation.
Right. Paul?
While both of them spoke about having a tool like AI, I think the trend of having a crisis management team is what is going to be the future, because every company will have a crisis team. Many companies don't, but today brands are realizing the importance of having a crisis management team. So I think that will be the trend that will catch on.
Right. Sanaj?
Yeah, I would go with what Madhurima and Saili had mentioned as AI. But I would also want AI to be democratized a lot further, so that a lot more people are familiar with it and everything. We as communicators and senior communicators might be using it, but I would also want like how agencies are. A few of them are using it, and maybe it needs to be a broader base so that collectively everybody learns and gets on board faster, because the technology and the landscape is changing, and it should not be it helps the folks in the agency as well as the corporates are also on the same page, and the learning curve is not okay, I need to catch up on that, or only one member of my team is a specialist on this.
Understood. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. As we come to the end of this insightful session, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed panelists for sharing their valuable experience and, of course, the perspective that they brought to the table. The challenges of managing reputation in today's world is, of course, which is very fast-paced, information-driven, and the fact that it brings out the stories that you brought together and strategies that you talked about. A special thank you to Adgully and to CommsAdda for organizing this very interesting conversation. It's to platforms like these that we as PR professionals can come together to discuss, learn, and strengthen our approach. So thank you once again, everyone, for being part of the session. And let's carry forward these insights, remain vigilant, and continue to champion the truth in all communication. Thank you to all of you. Anushka.
And Samir, you were a great moderator. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Samir. I
Thank you
really
very
liked
much.
It was wonderful.
Thank you.